Hello, hello. Welcome to my podcast. In this episode, I wanted to dive into a little bit about my health journey that's been going on for a few years now. Basically, I'm at a stage of being full term into perimenopause, and it's been quite the journey. I think that we don't really talk about this stuff very much. So I want to talk about it with you. I want to start by saying, like, my 40s were challenging to say the least. I think that's a polite way of saying it. But I had a lot of struggles that happened during the 40s, as I'm sure they have for many of you. Basically, I became someone who was fast becoming a caretaker of multiple people. And as a result, I put my own health on the back burner. And I think I kept thinking, like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm healthy. I'm good. I'm strong. I'm young, not realizing that I wasn't as young anymore. And I can keep doing what I'm doing because I'll get to me. I'll get to me. I'll do what I need to do right now. And then at some point, I'll think about myself. Well, that never happened. I kept on continuously working towards making sure everybody else was okay, as most women do. It's kind of something that's inherent in our nature, I think, especially if you're a mother. But even if you're not a mother, I think that as women, we are nurturers. We take care of people around us to our own detriment. And that's exactly what I did. I basically kept on focusing on making sure everyone else was healthy, was being fed properly, was mentally doing okay, sitting down with them and having emotional discussions about where they were at in their lives and stuff like that. And not once did I think that I should do the same thing for myself. Because I think we just take ourselves for granted so much because we keep thinking, oh, well, I feel fine. And that means that I can keep going. But I think that the universe kind of gives us messages slowly but surely, and we can choose to listen or we can choose to ignore. I chose to ignore. So it started off as like a soft whisper of, maybe you want to rest a little bit more, or maybe you want to not let yourself burn out so much. And I would just ignore it and be like, yeah, I will. I'll get to me. I got to do this thing first, or that person needs me now. I got to do that first. And that's not how it is. It will be that eventually those whispers will get louder, and then you'll get thumped on the head by a brick. And eventually that brick will hit you so hard that you're going to collapse on the floor. And that's kind of where I was at. So most recently, and I'd say in the last, maybe post COVID, I'd say since COVID, basically, my health declined pretty intensely and my mental state really declined. And I felt like I was no longer functioning as a normal human being, or quote unquote, whatever normal is. I felt really, really bogged down. I had no mental clarity anymore. There was like some thick fog that I was walking through. I felt almost as if my body had turned into some kind of mushy blob. And I don't mean outwardly. Outwardly, yeah, I was gaining weight, and I'm sure people who knew me could see that I was gaining weight. But to the average new person who saw me, I just looked like a thicker girl. It's not a big deal. And I personally have never had major issues with my look per se. I think I'm actually somebody who enjoys the changes that have happened in my body that were more positive. Like if I got a little bit more booty, hey, yay, good. Okay. I'm okay with that. If I got a little thicker, I was like, I would convince myself that it was fine, not a big deal. I can still look good. I can still rock it. But the feeling that I was having inside was very much that I had turned into a very mushy, heavy, weighted blob. And it was becoming harder to breathe. It was harder to go up the stairs. It was like I started having knee pains and joint pains and all these other things, and I couldn't explain them away. And my diet hadn't really changed, but I'd say I'd become more sedentary, or if that's how you say it, sedentary, whatever. I had become less active. And I knew that that had to do with COVID. It had to do with aging. It had to do with whatever was going on with my mental state, where I just did not have that get up and go nearly as much as I used to. The weight started to trickle up. My blood work started to change when I went to the doctor, and I started to show pretty prominent signs of insulin resistance. My sugar levels were going up, my cholesterol was going up. All the things that, are, again, red flags that were kind of blaring in my face. The first couple of blood works that I got, I was like, oh, I'm older. Maybe this is just the way it goes. Eventually, I got to a point where I was in such dire straits with my health that I was finding it difficult to get myself out of bed every morning. And that to me was probably the biggest red flag, because I would go to sleep and think that I was going to get a bunch of rest. And instead, I would suffer from insomnia. And the nights that I would be able to sleep, I would still somehow wake up in some kind of anxious, cold sweat, not knowing what the heck is going on, not being able to return to sleep. And then the next morning, I would wake up feeling even bigger, blobbier, and like swollen and puffy. My feet would be swollen right out of bed. And to me, that was a clear sign that my kidneys and my liver are not functioning as they should be. Like, you would think, like, if you're resting your body, that your kidneys and liver are going to help detoxify your body. But it felt like all the toxicity was just permeating through my whole body and spreading out. And I just felt disgusting. It was also that at around, I want to say, pre-COVID, my skin went through some trauma as a result of things that were going on, which I hope to discuss with you soon. I'll get into all the things that were happening with my family. We had a health crisis going on, and lots of things were happening. As a result, my stress level was through the roof. And as a result of that, my skin, who had previously been really clear skin. I didn't suffer from a lot of acne for, after my teenage years. It was, on and off here and there. I'd get a couple of pimples, but this time my face actually blew up. It was so bad. And it was actually so painful that it would hurt to move my jaw. I would have cystic acne along my jaw, along on my cheeks. It was really, really bad. It was a terrible time. And it was just adding to all the other stresses that I was feeling. It was looking in the mirror and seeing what was going on with my face on top of everything else was really, really hard. And I don't consider myself a vain person, but I gotta say that when you are in a state of feeling abnormal from the average that you used to be, it's really, really difficult to get past it. Because I'm not someone who loved, and to clarify, I was a makeup artist for 25 years. I am now retired from makeup artistry for the bridal industry. But being a makeup artist, obviously, there's some level of vanity that you have to maintain because you have to put your best face forward. And I certainly couldn't do that at that time. So I was all the full coverage foundation and concealer and everything and packing it on and then feeling disgusting because personally, I hate the feeling of having foundation on your skin. And what I was known for as a makeup artist was giving a very skin-like appearance to my clients, and that they loved that they just look very airbrushed and clean skinned rather than heavily applied foundation. But now here I was hypocritically now applying heavy levels of foundation for my own skin to be able to make myself feel presentable. So that, plus I would say that was the first brick that hit me in the head. So all that to say that basically once that message was loud and clear to me, I started to do a lot of research on what I can do in the most natural ways possible for me to help bring me back to a place of health, at least enough of a place of health that I could feel joy again, that I could feel like the earth wasn't ending. And it was because the mental state was so bad, as well as the physical state, as well as the vain appearance outwardly, where all of these things combined were just making me feel like, Now, having said that, I have found a few things that have been extremely, extremely beneficial in my journey to optimizing my own health. And I want to share that with you. There are many of you who I personally know on my podcast and who are subscribed. And I want to thank you for your support. It's been amazing talking to you all in person, and getting the encouragement to do this podcast has been quite the journey. It's been a level of support that I never expected. So thank you so much for that. And as my way of saying thank you is that I would like to help those women who may be feeling some of what I was feeling. And I want to share with you what I did so that maybe there's a possibility that these things could benefit you. And if that benefits even one of you, then I'm here for it. So what I did do is look into called inositol. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. Basically, it was previously known as vitamin B8. In studies, it has been researched to be very beneficial for women who have experienced PCOS, infertility, and so forth. So for women's health, inositol has been very beneficial. Now, I have some notes here that I'm going to kind of refer to, and I can certainly put them in the show notes. If I have some place to put them, I will put them there so that you can reference what I'm talking about. For the people who don't know me, I'm actually someone who's always been very, very interested in health optimization. My father, who was a wonderful role model for me, was a pharmacist who also did multiple degrees. He also did a nutrition degree, and he was very learned about the human health, basically. And he wanted to always come from a holistic point of view with health. And I think that trickled into me as well. I am very much about holistic health healing, and how, and I'm not talking about, like getting all woo woo about it. I think that there are many substances that are safe for the body to have and consume, because they can be very beneficial in bringing us back to a level of health that we may previously not have been at. And it oftentimes has to do with fulfilling the deficiencies that your body has. So that's what I'm trying to come at. That's the angle I'm coming at. And I believe that for a lot of us, inositol is a substance that maybe is not in abundance in our body, and therefore putting some inositol into your system can help bring your health back to where it needs to be. Now, inositol is something that your body can produce, and it is safe to consume. Like I mentioned, it was previously known as vitamin B8. It is currently now considered a sugar, but it is part of the B vitamin family. It's almost like glucose-like in the molecules, and it can, like I mentioned, can be produced by the body. So the two types of inositol are myo-inositol, which is the one that I'm basically focusing on, and D-chiro-inositol. Myo-inositol is the one that has been focused on women's health and fertility as the main focus. Now, I'm way past the stage of needing to be fertile. Alhamdulillah, I have my 4 children. We are happy. But there are a lot of you who are in a state, could benefit from this from a fertility standpoint. And it's definitely something that you should look into. Now, let me preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I do not have a medical degree. I am only giving you my personal experience and what I have learned through my personal research. By nature, I am a researcher. I think I have some level of neurodivergence where research for me is a very, very, it's a happy place for me. I like researching things. So in any case, I have done some research on this topic, and I'm going to share with you what I know, specifically for women who are experiencing PCOS symptoms. So what is PCOS? It is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And with that, the symptoms that are associated with PCOS are basically insulin resistance, weight gain, possibly infertility, really difficult monthly cycles. You might have experienced significant amount of pain. You experience a lot of mental health struggles with the hormonal imbalances that are going on with PCOS because of the insulin resistance, that there is a risk of diabetes. And that's definitely where my head was at with everything, is that I do have insulin resistance, and I do know that I'm at a risk for diabetes because of my family history, as well as the things my body has been going through. It's been showing clear signs of insulin resistance. And that's why I was focused on figuring out this inositol. People who might be experiencing metabolic syndrome, which is another issue when it comes to having high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels. Again, we're going back to insulin resistance, abnormal cholesterol levels or triglyceride levels, which I say for South Asian people, we are notoriously bad for having high cholesterol levels and having excess abdominal fat. We've actually been placed in a position health wise that it can be quite detrimental if we don't address them at the right time. So specifically for South Asian men and women, this is a very important thing to understand. Inositol is beneficial for both men and for women, and it also works on a cellular level to increase the quality of the cell membrane, improved egg formation and embryo quality, as well as sperm count for men. It can help a lot. People who are undergoing IVF treatment, which is for infertility treatment, they have noticed that there's a significant improvement in the quality of the eggs and the quality of the embryos as a result of taking inositol. I'm sure in conjunction with other things, so don't quote me on just inositol. There's probably multiple things that you have to do at the same time. There's also been noticed improvement in women who are pregnant, whether they're borderline gestational diabetic or gestational diabetic. They've seen improvements in women who have taken inositol during pregnancy. The studies have shown women who are breastfeeding and are pregnant, currently the studies that are short-term studies have shown that inositol is safe to consume at those times. However, there is no long-term study that I'm aware of that has done these long-term effects of what inositol might do. So keep that in mind, that there has been short-term studies for the duration of someone breastfeeding or being pregnant, that there has been no ill side effects associated with inositol. However, there has not been long-term studies. When it comes to mental health, so this is where I was mostly focused. I was focused on insulin resistance specifically for myself and mood adjustment for myself. When I was taking the inositol, that's where I wanted the most help. And I have personally found that taking inositol has somehow lifted the gray skies and parted them. And there's a clear sky peeking through finally. There's silver lining on the clouds. Finally, alhamdulillah, that I feel like the possibility of joy is right there around the corner. And I've never been the type of person who likes to wallow in misery. Those who know me would know this very clearly, that I'm not somebody who likes to stay in a depressed state. Not to say that and other people are, but I know some people who somehow they feel like life is so devastating that they can never come out of it. Because of my father's background and because of the fact that I've also worked in a medical background for 10 years as a pharmaceutical assistant, I know that it is possible. It is possible to come out of your devastating feelings and find the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a matter of finding the right keys. And for me, this has been one of the small keys that has helped bring me out of the funk. So I hope that it can do the same for you. Having said that, when it comes to dosing and stuff, I really can't tell you. I know currently it is recommended 2 to 4 grams. Currently, I'm someone who's very sensitive to medications of any sort. And I find because I have multiple gastrointestinal issues, I have autoimmune issues, and therefore for me, I have to creep up very slowly with dosing. So I find that I'm very sensitive. And if I dose too quickly, my gut will just lose its literally. Okay. Like it will go crazy in my gut. I will bloat. I will suffer from a lot of discomfort. I will have cramping and everything. So for me, I'm currently at 1 gram and I'm seem to be happy there. I don't know if I will increase. If I do, it would be crept up by 0.5 grams each time. And I think currently I've been taking this, I'd say about 6 weeks now. And I think that I'm probably going to take another 6 weeks to creep it up to 1.5 grams. Okay, so sorry, I had an interruption and now I don't know exactly where I was. Okay, yeah, so maybe what I should kind of go over is how exactly inositol works. It's basically a secondary messenger in the insulin signaling, and it helps to regulate your blood sugar levels. It can also, I'm looking off my notes, so that's why I sound like I'm reading. It supports neurotransmitter function in the brain, which can also improve mood and reduce anxiety. And I will say, along with that, that if you're someone who suffers from ADHD, OCD, anxiety, or anything that has to do with that, then you will definitely benefit from inositol, and you will find, depending on the dosing that you're at, you will find improvement, inshallah. So again, when it comes to dosing and stuff, I highly recommend that you speak to your, medical practitioner, doctor, specialist, whatever it is, naturopath. Do get the expert's opinion on what dosing you should be at. 1 gram has been working well. It does also help in the ovarian function and hormonal balancing. So again, this is where I was focused on, where I wanted to somehow balance out my hormone levels to make me a little bit less cray cray. Because when I would get to ovulation stage, like 14 days after my period would end, I would have a day or two, literally 48 hours, where I would turn into Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde, and in my case, Mrs. Hyder. It was insane how I was feeling. I started feeling almost like I wanted to rip my hair out, and I was so short fused and angry for 48 hours straight. And then I would chill out and I'd be like, I don't know what happened. My family would be reeling as the aftermath of the tornado that just happened, you know, 48 hours prior to this scenario of me being calm. It was like I was suddenly the calm after the storm, but the storm would take people out. And it was so bad that then again, when I would hit my period time, so like I would have really strong PMS. And in that case, rather than becoming angry, I would become like a weeping ball of weepiness. I would just be so sad. And I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I was getting sadness to the point of heart-shattering sadness, the kind you feel when your heart has been broken by somebody you love more than anything else in this world. But it was PMS. It wasn't because of anything. It was a commercial I saw on TV, or it was, my husband looking at me the wrong way. And I would break down inside as if my world had come apart. It didn't make any sense. It was such a crazy reaction to everything that was going on, where my overreaction to everything was in the extreme. And at night, I would try to act normal for as long as I could all day long. And then at nighttime, I would have insomnia riddled with this weepy sadness right before my period. And then it was magical. It was like my period would start and my brain would clear and I'd be okay again. And I wouldn't understand, and I know, like, we've all been witnessing horrible, terrible things that have been going on in the world, and they certainly have added to my sadness and my heart-shattering pain that I was feeling, because many times it was justified pain. However, there was many, many times where I would feel broken and sad, and I knew it was just the silliest reason why. Or just I would be sad for the sake of being sad. And that's when I started realizing that this is not just world events that's doing this to me. There's something else going on. For me, inositol has been a huge salve to fix that type of issue, at least to the point where now I can recognize that if I am feeling that way, one, it isn't as severe, and two, I understand that this is hormonal, and that if I increase my, health optimization and do more things to make myself better, inshallah, it will improve. The side thing is that it can also help you with weight gain as a result of being something that will assist with insulin resistance. And a lot of us are experiencing weight gain associated with insulin resistance. because you basically are eating maybe the same that you might have been eating 10 years ago, but now suddenly your body is like, yeah, we're going to start packing on the pounds. For me personally, my weight gain was associated a lot more with water retention along with fat, but I think less fat and more water retention, where I was feeling just very, very pressurized inside my body. And I was starting to swell and having a lot of puffiness everywhere. And as a result of the things that I've done recently, I suddenly feel like a balloon has been deflated and it has gone down. It's not perfect yet. We're working on it. But it's the biggest thing that's happened for me, and I hope that it's beneficial for you in the same way, is that I no longer feel like I'm in a detrimental health crisis anymore. That if I stayed on the road that I was on, that my parents and their health crises would quickly become my health crises. And for me, because of things that have happened in the last few years and the things that I've witnessed with my own family, it was a wake-up call for me to fix everything that's going on, which I will get into definitely on future episodes. I hope to discuss my 40s and the things that were going on, the health crisis that we had in our family, as well as watching my elderly parents go through so many things. And for me, it was a window into my future that if I don't fix what's going on with my health today, then I will be in the same boat as my parents. And I don't think that I would wish that on anybody, because the health crises that they've gone through, as well as many of my friends' parents that have been going through, it's the kind of struggle that nobody wishes on anybody. So this is a sign to you, if you are listening to this, whatever's going on with you, there are ways to fix it. There are ways to improve. And I want to tell you that the entire reason that I started this podcast was because I have information that I would like to share with all these beautiful women that I know personally. And I hope to get to know the new people that I hope will join and follow this journey. And I'm kind of get emotional when I think about it. But I think that there's not enough women talking about what they go through, because we have this secretive side where we think that, how I lost weight or how I improved my skin or how I did this or how it's somehow some kind of gate kept secret, because somebody out there told us that we shouldn't be kind to one another as women. And I'm here to tell you, no, it's time to open the gates, tell the people that you care about, all the women that you care about, this is how you will become better, inshallah. And that's my goal. I want the women around me that I care about to feel better, and I want all the new women that I hope will come and join me on this journey to feel better. If you have any questions, please share the questions in the comments. I think there will be comments, and I will be adding show notes with references to more information so you can dive into inositol, its benefits, and look into it for yourself. Again, I highly recommend you talk to a medical professional, because I am not one. With that, I will be signing off, and I want you guys to know I care about you all very deeply. Some of you I love with all my heart, and that's it, basically. So here's to you. Sincerely, Seema.